حذو بين المناكب. Straighten your lines. Fill in the gaps. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قد خلت من قبلكم سنن فسيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المكذبين. هذا بيان للناس وهدى وموعظة للمتقين. ولا تهنوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. إن يمسسكم قرح فقد مس القوم قرح مثله وتلك الأيام نداولها بين الناس وليعلم الله الذين آمنوا ويتخذ منكم شهداء والله لا يحب الظالمين. وليمحص الله الذين آمنوا ويمحق الكافرين. أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يعلم الله الذين جاهدوا منكم ويعلم الصابرين. ولقد كنتم تمنون الموت من قبل أن تلقوه فقد رأيتموه وأنتم تنظرون. وما محمد إلا رسول قد خلت من قبله الرسل أفإن مات أو قتل انقلبتم على أعقابكم ومن ينقلب على عقبيه فلن يضر الله شيئا وسيجزي الله الشاكرين. وما كان لنفس أن تموت إلا بإذن الله كتابا مؤجلا ومن يرد ثواب الدنيا نؤته منها ومن يرد ثواب الآخرة نؤته منها وسنجزي الشاكرين. وكأين من نبي قاتل معه ربيون كثير فما وهنوا لما أصابهم في سبيل الله وما ضعفوا وما استكانوا والله يحب الصابرين. وما كان قولهم إلا أن قالوا ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. فآتاهم الله ثواب الدنيا وحسن ثواب الآخرة، والله يحب المحسنين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله 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 أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. ولما رأى المؤمنون الأحزاب قالوا هذا ما وعدنا الله ورسوله وصدق الله ورسوله، وما زادهم إلا إيمانا وتسليما. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه، فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر، وما بدلوا تبديلا، ليجزي الله الصادقين بصدقهم ويعذب المنافقين إن شاء أو يتوب عليهم، إن الله كان غفورا رحيما. ورد الله الذين كفروا بغيظهم لم ينالوا خيرا، وكفى الله المؤمنين القتال، وكان الله قويا عزيزا. وأنزل الذين ظاهروهم من أهل الكتاب من صياصيهم وقذف في قلوبهم الرعب، فريقا تقتلون وتأسرون فريقا، وأورثكم أرضهم وديارهم وأموالهم وأرضا لم تطئوها، وكان الله على كل شيء قديرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله 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 أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله يا الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. اللهم صل وبارك على عبدك ونبيك محمد كما صليت وباركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم إنا نستعينك ونستهديك ونؤمن بك ونتوكل عليك، نحصي عليك الخير كله، نشكرك ولا نكفرك، ونخلع ونترك من يفجرك. اللهم إياك نعبد ولك نصلي ونسجد وإليك نسعى ونحفد، نرجو رحمتك ونخشى عذابك، إن عذابك الجد بالكفار ملحق. اللهم ربنا عز جارك وجل ثناؤك وتقدست أسماؤك، اللهم لا يرد أمرك ولا يهزم جندك، سبحانك وبحمدك. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين، اللهم ارفع راية الإسلام عالية خفاقة فوق العالمين. اللهم أبرم لهذه الأمة أمرا رشدا، يعز فيه أهل الطاعة ويهدى ويتاب فيه على أهل المعصية، ويحكم فيه الدين وسنة النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. اللهم كن لإخواننا في غزة وفي فلسطين، اللهم كن لإخواننا في لبنان وفي السودان وفي اليمن وفي سوريا وفي العراق الأفاق وفي كل مكان. اللهم كن لهم معينا وظهيرا وردءا ونصيرا. اللهم إنهم جوعى فأطعمهم، اللهم أطعمهم من جوع، اللهم آمنهم من خوف، اللهم اجعل الغلبة لهم، اللهم أنزل عليهم من الخيرات والبركات أضعاف ما نزل بهم من البلاء. اللهم أنزل عليهم السكينة وصب عليهم الرضا صبا صبا. اللهم كن لهم معينا وظهيرا. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك ضعف قوتنا وقلة حيلتنا وهواننا على الناس. أنت ربنا ورب المستضعفين. إلى من تكلنا؟ إلى عدو يتجهمنا أم إلى بعيد ملكته أمرنا؟ إن لم يكن بك غضب علينا فلا نبالي، ولكن عافيتك هي أوسع لنا. نعوذ بنور وجهك الذي أشرقت له الظلمات وصلح عليه أمر الدنيا والآخرة أن ينزل بنا سخطك أو يحل علينا غضبك. لك العتبى حتى ترضى، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم عليك بالظلمة والمعتدين. اللهم أنزل عليهم بأسك الذي لا يرد عن القوم المجرمين. اللهم شرد بهم من خلفهم وجعلهم أحاديث. اللهم فرق جمعهم، اللهم مزقهم كل ممزق. اللهم اشدد وطأتك على الظالمين، اللهم اشدد وطأتك على الظالمين. اللهم اجعلنا من جندك الغالبين ومن عبادك المنصورين بعزتك وقدرتك يا رب العالمين. صل اللهم على عبدك ونبيك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Now I am going to have a deal with the parent, because the deal with the kids, alhamdulillah, worked very, very well. They play 2 minutes, and alhamdulillah, salah was done, dua was done without any interruption. But for the adult, Brother Muhammad Iqbal, the administrator, he's talking to someone. Brother Iqbal, I'm talking to you. Is the microphone is okay? Say no. Is the microphone is okay? Say no. Why you are talking to the brother when I'm talking? Fahumi and your team, either here or somewhere else. No, seriously, I'm not laughing. The situation in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Gaza does not give us any chance to laugh. Salah ad-Din, Ridwanullahi alayhi, the minute the Masjid al-Aqsa was conquered by someone, he never ever laughed till he elaborate Masjid al-Aqsa. The deal with the parent, last night, we collect more than $3,000. Say takbir. One more. For any one of the parents will speak loudly, right away we are going to collect more money from him. You be silent, no collection money. But when you speak, I can recognize your voice, and I will say so and so, 500. Save your 500 and don't speak, please. Tell Fadilat Shaykh Hatem, give us the chance to speak, question and answer. That is between you and him, not between me and you. With this, inshallah ta'ala, I'm requesting Shaykh Abdurrehman to come to the podium and put the chair and the table and the microphone and see what we can do. And Fadilat Shaykh Hatem, المحراب محرابكم والمنبر منبركم مسجد مسجدكم إن شاء الله تعالى.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. October 4th. October 4th, 2024, almost a year ever since what's happening in Gaza picked up. But the issue of Palestine has been happening for more than 70 years now. And speaking for myself and I think for all the community, when it happened last year, I think it was a wake-up call for all of us. And inshallah, joining us tonight is Dr. Hatem, Shaykh Abdurrehman. Dr. Hatem holds a PhD in comparative fiqh, was the dean in Islamic studies at Mishkaya University, and is a senior member of the permanent Fatwa Committee. Pass the microphone to Shaykh Abdurrehman to give us a beautiful Quran recitation, followed by, inshallah, the community discussion of Wallahu khairan.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. أولما أصابتكم مصيبة قد أصبتم مثليها قلتم أنى هذا قل هو من عند أنفسكم إن الله على كل شيء قدير. وما أصابكم يوم التقى الجمعان فبإذن الله وليعلم المؤمنين وليعلم الذين نافقوا. وقيل لهم تعالوا قاتلوا في سبيل الله أو ادفعوا. قالوا لو نعلم قتالا لاتبعناكم هم للكفر يومئذ أقرب منهم للإيمان يقولون بأفواههم ما ليس في قلوبهم والله أعلم بما يكتمون. الذين قالوا لإخوانهم وقعدوا لو أطاعونا ما قتلوا قل فادرءوا عن أنفسكم الموت إن كنتم صادقين. ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. يستبشرون بنعمة من الله وفضل وأن الله لا يضيع أجر المؤمنين. الذين استجابوا لله والرسول من بعد ما أصابهم القرح للذين أحسنوا منهم واتقوا أجر عظيم. الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. فانقلبوا بنعمة من الله وفضل لم يمسسهم سوء واتبعوا رضوان الله والله ذو فضل عظيم. إنما ذلكم الشيطان يخوف أولياءه فلا تخافوهم وخافون إن كنتم مؤمنين. ولا يحزنك الذين يسارعون في الكفر إنهم لن يضروا الله شيئا يريد الله ألا يجعل لهم حظا في الآخرة ولهم عذاب عظيم. إن الذين اشتروا الكفر بالإيمان لن يضروا الله شيئا ولهم عذاب أليم ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم خير لأنفسهم إنما نملي لهم ليزدادوا إثما ولهم عذاب مهين ما كان الله ليذر المؤمنين على ما أنتم عليه حتى يميز الخبيث من الطيب وما كان الله ليطلعكم على الغيب ولكن الله يجتبي من رسله من يشاء فآمنوا بالله ورسله وإن تؤمنوا وتتقوا فلكم أجر عظيم.
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. To proceed. No, maybe lower. No, just no. So Shaykh Abdurrehman invited me, started to invite me to give this talk maybe like a month ago, and I kept on telling him that I probably will not be able to. Part of the reason is that I was not sure that I will be available, and the other part or the other reason for it is that I am quite confident that I will disappoint some of you, and that happens all the time when you talk about sensitive or critical issues of this nature. But it's not only because we will disagree, but it is also because of some of you may have different expectations of me, and different expectation of what a clergyman may provide within this context or regarding a matter of this nature. So some people think that a clergyman would provide all the answers for all the questions, which is really not true. So that's where basically the failure to meet expectations comes in. There is a difference between a political analyst, a political scientist, a political activist, a military strategist, a physician, and like an astronomer, an astrophysicist, and a clergyman. Everybody has their own lane, and everybody they have their own function. And certainly that does not mean that all of you are here expecting me to provide political analysis. Many of you are here just expecting that they will get the appropriate guidance within the context of the events that we're going through from a religious perspective, from the religious angle, and that would require us to understand what is it that religion is expected to provide in this regard and to provide in general. Well, first of all, the greatest and the ni'mah that Allah had bestowed on us is that we were born Muslim, or we have converted to Islam, that we found Islam. So that's the greatest blessing ever. So Islam gives us everything. But what is, when it comes, what do we mean Islam gives us everything? When we say this, what does that mean? Well, it means the ultimate success. It means al-fawz, al-najah, al-falah. It means rid Allah, which is basically encapsulated in the word salvation. So when it comes to the hereafter, Islam gives us salvation. That is fawz, that's najah, that is falah, that is basically rida Allah Azza wa Jal. Rida Allah Azza wa Jal. Everything else is included under rida Allah Azza wa Jal. Even the Jannah itself is part of this. So the ultimate success and prosperity is to earn the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the pleasure and acceptance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that would have been enough. But the religion also gives so much to us in this life as well. In this life as well. You know, this ongoing sort of conflict for decades and maybe even more between secularists and Islamists in Muslim countries about the role of religion in the society and so on. And certainly when you say secularists and Islamists, it does not mean that people come in these two strands only. Like within each of these, there are many strands, you know, countless strands, and sometimes they overlap. But you know, just to put, you know, to sort of put things in the right context, religion provides to the society, to the individual in this life, and the society in this life, 6 major important things. One of them is meaning. That is meaning, that's identity formation, that's self-definition, that's basically figuring out, that's the worldview, that is the answers to the existential questions. Only human beings are the ones who ask about those existential questions, are concerned, worried about, and looking for answers to the existential questions. Where did we come from? What are we? Why are we here? And where are we going? And that does not only give you a worldview, basically an external worldview, it's self-defining. It gives you, it forms your identity. It defines your place in relation to everything else that's around you. And you know, Islam gives you the most perfect answer to, or the sort of the most perfect outlook on the 6 pillars that I will mention now. So the first thing is that meaning and self definition and identity formation. And the second one, you know, after it gives you a meaning, it gives you moral grounding. It gives you moral grounding. And we know that it's very hard, basically, to be ethical if you believe that there is no difference between us and not only animals and ants and plants and anything else. We've come from the unicell. We've all come from the unicell. So it's very hard to have moral grounding. And where do you get the moral grounding? Where do you get the detailed moral grounding if you truly believe in that story? So it provides that important moral grounding, and it provides motivation and direction, because all of these 6 pillars are basically interdependent. These 6 pillars are interdependent, and they lead to one another, and they hinge on one another. So without meaning, there will not be direction or motivation. But because there is meaning, there will be direction and motivation, and it keeps you going and gives you that resilience. It gives you also that comfort and consolation, the ability to heal, and the chance for reconciliation with yourself, and reconciliation with your surroundings, including people who who are in conflict with you. And it gives that social cohesion, which is extremely important. It gives social cohesion. So all of us, you know, recognize one another. That sense of belonging is very important on an individual level. It's one of the basic needs of humanity based on the pyramid of Abraham Maslow of the essential and basic needs. So it gives you that sense of belonging and that societal cohesion, which is extremely important. And it also gives organization structure. So you know, you have some structure. If you're a Muslim, even your day is structured. Like you wake up you pray Fajr, and then you have like the Dhuhr prayer and the Asr prayer. It structures your day, and your religion structures your life, because you know that at some point you will get married, and there is marriage has basically a clear structure that so it gives you as an individual structure and gives a society structure and organization. Given that, how do we translate this into what we need to do, how we need to think about the events that are taking place in Palestine, and what we need to do? So Surah Al-Asr is a very good outline for what is it that we need to know, and what is it that we need to believe, and what is it that we need to do for what is happening in the Holy Lands. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, by the time or by the declining day. Al-Asr in particular is a very interesting oath. The declining day. It's basically a warning that the time is running out and the end is coming soon. The day is declining and you're close to the Maghrib time, so you need to sprint. You need to sort out your issues and get your act together, and you need to start your sprint. So by the declining day, by Asr, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, all mankind are in loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, except for those who believe. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and done righteous deeds. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, تَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ means counseled or advised each other to truth, and advised each other to patience, resilience, perseverance. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So when it comes to Iman, how does Iman help us make sense of what is happening? How does Iman help us make sense of what is happening? And Iman is not limited. Iman is not limited to here in this context, is not limited to our belief in God. But certainly our belief in God is, at the core of this. But it is also about, what is it that our belief content about this particular cause or this particular struggle or this particular case? What do we know about it? And how do we relate to it? How do we relate to this issue? And why is it important? And why is it special? Because we get this question at times. What makes it so special? So there are tragedies all over the Muslim world. And we've had several tragedies in the past, in the near past, and so on and so forth. So our belief in God is extremely important, because it gives us hope, and it gives us resilience, and it keeps us from despair. It keeps us from despair. If we know that وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرًا, and Allah is capable over all things, that will keep us from despair. If you know that your Lord is omnipotent and omniscient, that He is capable and that He's aware, not only aware but also capable, not only capable but also aware, He is more aware of what is happening than you, of course, all the details, the slightest details, and He is a lot more capable than you, of course. So that is where we need to begin, to believe in the omnipotence and omniscience of our Lord, and to believe also in His care and His love. Do you know, and this is extremely important for our resilience and our hope, and to avoid panic. Do you know when a father says to his child, jump, and stretches out his hands, to basically hold him when he jumps. Before he takes that leap, there's so much that's going through his mind. I mean, it's scary, particularly if he's jumping from like a high elevation. It looks scary. He's looking down. He finds his father down there, and he's not sure whether. But what makes the child jump? He knows that his father is a strong man. He has tried his father before, and he didn't let him down. He knows that he's a strong man, and he knows that his father loves him and cares about him, and would not let him fall without purpose. His father would not let him fall without purpose. Just like when the father throws his, or maybe the mother sometimes, throws their child up in the air, and before they come down, they can panic, momentarily. But then, when you read كل نفس ذائقة الموت in سورة الأنبياء ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة وإلينا ترجعون. كل نفس ذائقة الموت, every soul shall taste death. ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة, and we will test you by evil and good as a trial. وإلينا ترجعون, and to us you return. إلينا ترجعون is the crux of the matter. To us you return is the crux of the matter. That is why when you go through a hardship, when you lose a loved one, you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and to him we will return. That is extremely important. When you have confidence in this, it gives you unlimited comfort and unlimited consolation. To him you return, to him we return, to him everybody returns. And when everybody returns, justice is completely established. Justice is completely established. So that gives us grounding, that gives us hope, that keeps us from despair, and that gives everything meaning also, because he had told you, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً, we will test you by evil. Didn't he say that? He said, بِالشَّرِّ, we will test you by evil, وَالْخَيْرِ, and good, as a trial. So the trials differ, but ultimately, what matters is your response to the trial. And eventually, you get your recompense, your fair recompense from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. So Iman has a great place here. Also, what we said, Iman is not limited to this, but it's also about your beliefs. So why is Palestine special? Why is the Holy Land special? And why is Palestine special? For many reasons. One of them, well, Umar ibn Khattab proved this, practically. How many countries were opened by Umar ibn Khattab during his blessed reign? Oh, so many. Like Sham is 4 different countries, and Iraq and Egypt and so on. Did he ever go basically to celebrate in one of these open countries the conquest? Did he come to Egypt, where I come from? No, he didn't go to Egypt to celebrate. Did he go to Iraq? Did he go to Al-Kufa to celebrate? No, he did not go. But when they asked to give the keys of Bayt al-Maqdis to him, he went in person to receive the keys of Bayt al-Maqdis. And why is this? Because it has the 3rd most sacred precinct in Islam after al-Masjid al-Haram and al-Masjid al-Aqsa. It has a religious significance. It has a great religious significance. And it is the Masra of the Prophet ﷺ, the end of the night journey, and the beginning of al-Mi'raj, the beginning of the ascension. It does have a great significance mentioned in the Quran. الَّذِي بَارَكْنَا حَوْلَهُ, around which we have the precinct, around which we have blessed the area or the region. So not only that precinct, but also around it is a blessed area, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. So it has that religious significance. And ever since Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu went to Jerusalem to receive the keys, Jerusalem has been a mirror reflecting the condition of the Muslim Ummah. It's a mirror. It's like a thermometer. You know what is happening. Look at the conditions in Jerusalem. You will realize and you will figure out what is happening with our Ummah. What's happening in Jerusalem reflects what's happening in our Ummah at large. So it is important, and it is more important than other places, not because a particular brand of Muslims or a particular group of Muslims are more important than another group. No, but because this area is more important. This place is more important. And it is not only more important to us, it's more important to others as well. So it is more important, and we need to keep this in mind. But this is a particularly special case because of pragmatic reasons, other than these reasons, which are religious reasons that people who are not Muslim may not relate to, but because of pragmatic reasons as well. Because when there was colonialism, like in Egypt, for instance, when Great Britain occupied Egypt, or France occupied Algeria, or the Dutch occupied Indonesia or something. When this happened, this was not replacement colonialism. This was not replacement colonialism. They were not there to replace the indigenous people and to change to completely change the demographics of the country. Although in Algeria maybe a little bit to some extent, but and generally speaking, it was not replacement colonialism, which makes the case of Palestine a very different scenario. This is a replacement colonialism, and keep in mind when the Muslimin entered Palestine, opened Palestine. This was not replacement colonialism. So it's not like it goes in cycles. No, it's not. It's not true. It's not going in cycles. There was no replacement colonialism. The Arabs in the peninsula would not have been able to replace the populations in Iraq. I told you, during the time of Umar ibn Khattab alone, radiallahu anhu, these countries were all opened to Islam. Do you know the number of troops that opened Egypt to Islam? Do you know Amr ibn al-As marched into Egypt with how many troops? 4,000. Amr ibn al-As marched into Egypt with 4,000 people. That's how many he had with him. So we're not talking. This was not replacement colonialism. Paleontologically speaking, the fossil record shows that there was a civilization in Palestine 10,000 years ago. There was a civilization in Palestine 10,000 years ago. So it's one of the oldest inhabited areas on the face of the earth. One of the oldest inhabited areas on the face of the earth. And the same people, which is a mix of people. And in Islam, the ethnicity and race and all of these things don't matter much. But it was a mixture of people from different ethnic backgrounds that lived in this land. And when the Muslims took over from the Romans, keep in mind, the Muslims did not take over from the indigenous people of the land. They took over from the Romans. The indigenous people in the land converted to Islam. So this has to be kept in mind. So whenever people talk to you about, things go in cycles, no, this is not one of these things. It's not cycles here. So so that is why this particular case is more pressing and is very special because of the nature and because of the speed at which things change in this particular case. We're talking about 75 years, and you have to do your homework and you have to figure out what is exactly happening in order, not only in order for you to be a good advocate on behalf of the Palestinian people and the struggle, but for you yourself to have the right content in your mind, the right beliefs and the right thought content in your mind. So you have to familiarize yourself. In order for you to do advocacy, you have to be well versed, like you have to learn yourself, and you have to, if you don't have the time, or you want basically to share, some thoughts with like a friend or a coworker, and they don't have time. There is a very good documentary by John Pilger, who was an Australian journalist. It's called Palestine is Still the Issue. Palestine is still the issue. John Pilger, an Australian, and certainly there is so much now. Like I'm just giving you some of the classics, but you may also want to do a little bit more reading. So, and it doesn't have to be by Muslims. We know why Palestine is important to us as Muslims, but when it comes to the particular conflict, or when it comes to the particular struggle.
Assalamu alaikum. Ask one of the sisters if they can take care of just our children running in between. We have the multi-purpose room or a second floor because you're disturbing us, please.
You may want to do some reading yourself, because keep in mind, sometimes people get frustrated and they do things that are hasty and unuseful, unproductive, because they are not, they don't want to do the hard work. If you want to do advocacy in the right way, you need to educate yourself about the case. So maybe you want to read Ian Pape's book about the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. You may want to read Jimmy Carter's book, and you may want to share it with people, because here in America, people value celebrities, and particularly if you were a president, you're certainly a celebrity. And Jimmy Carter is loved by many people. So Palestine, Peace, Not a Apartheid is a good book to share with others. It doesn't give you that much information, and he was a U.S. president, so he is very politically correct also in his book, and he's not sharing everything, but it will give the people a taste from someone that they look up to and they recognize as authoritative. You could read On Palestine by Noam Chomsky and Ian Pape. You could certainly read The 100 Years' War by Rashid Khalidi. You could read Gaza by Norman Finkelstein. There are tons of resources out there that you could basically utilize to arm yourself with knowledge. Arm yourself with knowledge about the case, because the more you know, the better positioned you are to advocate for the Palestinians. Now, so this is the الذين آمنوا. You need to have the right basically content of thought in your mind, and then وعملوا الصالحات. So it's not enough to have the right outlook. It's not enough to have the right worldview, outlook, perspective on the case, but then you need to act, because these are the two legs that Islam walks on. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا خالدين فيها لا يبغون عنها حولا. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. They are always combined in the Quran. They're always like joint twins in the Quran. Amanu wa amilu salihat, believed and done righteous deeds. So then you need to act. You need to basically, that iman, that faith, that meaning should produce direction and motivation. So you need to act. And what do we need to do? What can we do? Here is an important point to share with you also. We're all different. We have different skills. We have different circumstances. One circumstance we people in this room share, or this masjid share, is that we're all U.S. Residents / citizens. We are all U.S. citizens / residents, and that basically is a significant factor. It can be impeding sometimes, and it can be empowering, but your cleverness is to change it from impeding to empowering. Your cleverness is to say, I will do my best within my circumstances, so I will use my circumstances to basically do my best by my co-religionists, by my ikhwani wa akhawati who are, struggling in the Holy Lands. So how do you do this? All of us Muslims all over the world need to have pure intentions. We really need to care. We have to learn how to care. We have to train ourselves to care, because sometimes we do a lot of lip service and we don't actually care. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this sort of religiosity for self-confirmation and for belonging, to show off, your allegiance to a group of people and so on, so that we can all tell each other that we care. وقال إنما اتخذتم من دون الله أوثانا مودة بينكم في الحياة الدنيا. So Ibrahim said to them that you have taken gods other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as deities, مودة بينكم في الحياة الدنيا, to build bonds of mutual bonds between you, mutual bonds of compassion between you. No, we have to really care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our obligations towards Allah and towards our brothers and sisters. So it's not enough to do lip service, and it's not enough to show off our concern. We have to do the work. And part of the work is to be concerned, is to teach yourself to be concerned. And then you certainly should never underestimate the importance of dua and supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe one of us will have their prayer answered, and you don't know. If you are muttar, if you're truly concerned, if you're truly in pain, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look at you and see that tarar in you and answer your prayer. Then we have advocacy. And so this is where being a U.S. citizen or U.S. resident and being able to speak in English makes a difference. It's a strength because you could do your advocacy in a language that most people in the world speak nowadays, or a lot of people, particularly educated people in the world, speak. And you could also be more effective being part of the society, because most of the help that that Israel, so the oppressor or the oppressors get, they get from the United States of America. This is not, we're not saying like any secrets here. Everybody knows this. And without the support that Israel gets from the United States of America, they couldn't do all of what they are doing. And they couldn't oppress all the populations in that region in this way. That is not to say that Israel by itself is weak. It's obviously they're not, but they're certainly counting on the assistance of the United States, and the weapons they never stopped shipping weapons to Israel since this all began. So you could be influential. You could do advocacy. This advocacy, political involvement is part of it. And basically sharing, sharing information online is part of it, because we need all the efforts. We need all the efforts, and not everybody can do everything. So you do whatever it is you can. But having said that, here is the importance of وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. They counseled, enjoined one another to truth. The importance of group work, the importance of not reinventing the wheel, because group teamwork amplifies the impact exponentially. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you are looking to participate, to advocate, there is an organization, for instance, by the name of AMP, American Muslims for Palestine. You could figure out where they are, you could figure out how to contact them, and you could say, here are my skills. Do you have any use for me? Like, can you use me? I have these skills. If you would be able to use me, I would love to be used. This is not to say that you're not like a free agent. You're not individually accountable. No, you should never give in your intellect to any fallible human being, but you should be pragmatic enough to work with your flawed Muslim brothers, because you're also one of them. You're also as flawed as they are. So you should never surrender your mind to anyone, but you should be pragmatic to work with flawed people, because you are a flawed person, just like everybody else. So that is one thing that we need to do. We need to utilize. We need to harness that power of teamwork and group work. Now, another thing that we can do is to donate. And, the Prophet ﷺ says, Sadaqa burhan. Why? Sadaqa burhan, Sadaqa is a proof. Why is Sadaqa burhan? Because it hurts. Because it hurts particularly when you donate generously, you get like money out of your paycheck or your bank account, and it hurts transiently. Certainly, it feels great, and the consequences are great, and the reward is great, but it hurts even temporarily when you see that you had like $4,000 in your bank account, and all of a sudden it dropped to whatever it is. So it does prove that it is not just lip service, and it is not just mere talk, that you are actually concerned and you are willing to sacrifice. Is that element of sacrifice is extremely important as a test of truthfulness. A test of truthfulness. Are you willing to sacrifice for that which you believe in, or you're not? So this is also important. So these are the main things that we can do in terms of righteous deeds towards the case. Advocacy, which will require effort, learning, so that you could advocate properly. You educate yourself so that you could advocate properly. And this advocacy includes several things. And whatever skills you have, put them at the service of some people that have more experience and that have done more in this regard. Donation, supplication, and and certainly the fact of being always concerned and being always um, looking for other ways to help, looking for other means to help. Then وتواصوا بالحق, and we said that it's about group work, it's about teamwork, and it's about our uh, ability to console one another, our ability to motivate one another, our ability to support one another, and our ability to amplify our impact by working with one another. نتواصى بالحق and نتواصى be supporting our brothers and sisters in the Holy Lands. And finally, وتواصوا بالصبر, enjoying one another through patience, resilience, and this is dependent, as I told you. These things are all interconnected. This is dependent on your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you believe that you're doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you never fall in despair, and you never give up. You never lose hope. You continue to work, and you seek Allah's assistance, and success comes from Allah and comes from Him alone. I'll stop here, and then we can talk, discuss whatever matters you want to discuss, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Hatem. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you tremendously. So it's kind of, as Dr. Hatem mentioned, it's kind of Q&A. Whether it's related to the topic or have a fiqhi question or something. So Doctor will answer, inshallah.
Migrating from the United States because you're supporting the system that is supporting the oppressors. I have written extensively on this issue, migrating from the United States, and I think that everybody will have to look at their own circumstances and make that decision for themselves. I have never dared to make that decision for anyone else because it's never one size fits all for decisions of that nature. So people need to look at their circumstances. However, I may also say that if you migrate, so the Islamic moral, when we talked about moral grounding, you remember the 6 pillars we talked about? We talked about moral grounding. So the Islamic moral system, if I may describe it, and it certainly is reductionist, but to simplify, is divinely prescribed moral utilitarianism. Divinely prescribed moral utilitarianism. And the utilitarianism part of it is quite obvious. It's quite obvious. We even have a قاعدة فقهية that says الوسائل لها أحكام المقاصد, which means assume the rule. So I was talking, huh? Okay. So I was talking about the Islamic ethical system is divinely prescribed. So it's based on the lawgiver, divinely prescribed moral utilitarianism. The utilitarianism part of it is quite obvious throughout the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. So what is utilitarianism in general? To bring about the greatest good for the greatest number. Bring about the greatest good for the greatest number. But when we qualify it by moral utilitarianism, we are not limiting the good to pleasure, to carnal pleasures, to immediate pleasures. And when we say divinely prescribed, we're anchoring all of this in the divine, with the divine lawgiver. So, but it's a very long discussion. Why am I saying this? I am saying this to answer this question: should we immigrate? What if you immigrate? What if you immigrate? How much money do you make? I'm not gonna. I don't expect an answer, but so you make $200,000 a month. How much taxes do you pay? How much of these taxes go to support Israel? A better idea is to use more of your money to support your brothers and sisters back home, because when you leave, someone else will come in your place, whether they will come from Hungary or El Salvador. You're not that rare, like you're not like such a special, all of us, I mean, if you are so special, huh? Oh, of course, like all human beings. That's the difference between al-wajib wal-mumkin. Allah is the only necessary being, and we're all contingent beings. So every human being is disposable. And that's the difference between us and God. The necessary being is God. We're all contingent beings. Anybody here, no matter how, don't think that, had Bill Gates not existed, we would have not had computers. We'd have not had, something similar to Windows. We would have had something similar to Windows. Or maybe Apple would have, taken the whole market. So everybody is disposable. Everybody is disposable. So in this, if you look at it from this angle of moral utilitarianism, your leaving is not going to stop the support from going there to Israel, but you will stop supporting the Palestinian cause by the advocacy that you do here, whether it's just simply sharing information or political engagement, or and the donations that you send back home to the people who suffer from the bombs that we send from here. Yeah, well, yeah. Yes. No. No، حالة خاصة، وإيش حالة خاصة هذا؟ يعين الكافر على المسلم, to assist the kafir against the Muslim because of their religion, because you want to support kufr against Islam, or تعين الكافر على المسلم. What if the kafir is your brother and he's having a fist fight with a Muslim in the street, and you run downstairs and you fight with your brother, your blood brother, against that Muslim? Is that kufr? No, it's not kufr. Why are you assisting the kafir in this case? You're assisting the kafir not because of their religion, not because you want kufr to prevail over or supersede Islam, but because of natural allegiances. Mm. Yes, الرضا بالكفر, لكن أنا أقصد so my response was about anyone who assists a disbeliever against a believer becomes a kafir. No, that is not correct, because he needs to assist the disbeliever against the believer to see kufr prevail over Islam. That is what constitutes kufr. But there had always been, during the times of the Crusades, there had always been alliances between, Muslims and the disbelievers against Muslims. That is fisk, that is grave, these are crimes, but they did not say it was always kufr, because it was basically military alliances and things of that nature. It wouldn't amount to kufr unless you want kufr to prevail over Islam, unless you want to support kufr against Islam. But to support a kafir against a Muslim, to fight with your blood brother against your brother in faith, does not amount to kufr. Now, we will have to assign a legal value to this based on who started the fight, what is the fight about, what is your role in this fight. But it's not automatic. It's not automatic. It's not like whenever you support a disbeliever over a believer. Certainly, if your brother was the aggressor, if your brother in faith was the aggressor, you should support the disbeliever against the believer, because your support of the believer in this case is to stop them. So you wrestle them down to stop them. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Unsur akhaka zaliman aw mazluman." قالوا قد علمنا كيف ننصره ظالما مظلوما فكيف ننصره ظالما قال أن تمنعه من ظلمه. Support your brother whether he is the oppressor or the oppressed. He said, we know how to support them if they are, or give them victory. Support them if they are the oppressor, but the oppressed. But how do we support them if they are the oppressor? He said, to stop them from their oppression. So I agree with you that if someone supports kufr against Islam, not kafir against Muslim, supports kafir against Muslim because of their kufr, because they want kufr to prevail over Islam, then that's certainly from nawaqid al-Islam. Yeah. So yeah, the question now. Keep in mind that we feel a lot like too much self-importance here, because you're actually, look at it the other way around. So you were an engineer in your country, you were a physician in your country, you're a physician coming from Egypt, for instance. You are making like $500 a month in Egypt, if you're able to. So you're making $500 a month in Egypt. You come here and they give you, let's say, $10,000 a month. And they take part of this and they say that this goes to taxes. And most of this actually is going to roads and and part of it may be used. Part of it, I don't know what is the percentage that is being used, like, because, 80% of our tax dollars is going to Israel? No, brothers, no. Okay. So, AI, where is AI? Well, AI would give like a better answer than any one of us here. Yeah. So, no. Okay. Come on, brothers. But not Israel per se. And we need also to verify that information, because like there's so much that you spend tax dollars on. But anyway, so this is another way to look at it also. This is another way to look at it. So the amount of US federal tax dollars that support Israel is less than 0.1% of the total US federal budget. The US has provided Israel with 3.8 billion in aid since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, which is 1 year's worth of aid. No, it's fine to discuss these things. There's no problem. So $4 billion, AI? No. There's no question about this. But guys, this is the other way of looking at it. And I am not here to convince anyone to not immigrate. People who feel uncomfortable should immigrate. Wabis ibn Ma'bad came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet said to him, "جئت تسأل عن البر والإثم?" Did you come to ask about good and evil? And Wabisa said yes. And what did the Prophet ﷺ say? البر ما اطمأنت إليه النفس واطمأن إليه القلب والإثم ما حاك في الصدر وتردد في النفس وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس استفتي قلبك ولا أفتاك الناس وأفتوك. So when Wabis ibn Ma'bad asked the Prophet ﷺ about evil and good, he said to him, "You came to ask me about good and evil?" He didn't know. He didn't tell him, but the Prophet ﷺ knew what he came for. He said yes. He said to him, "Good is what you feel comfortable, like what your heart inclines to and you find comfort with in your chest. And evil is what sort of vibe, gives you bad vibes or something, and you have reluctance and unease about, and you dislike for people to know about it. But then, what did the Prophet ﷺ say? استفتي قلبك ولو أفتاك الناس وأفتوك. Consult your heart, no matter how many fatwas you get. So, no matter how many fatwas you get, consult your heart and act upon your heart, what your heart tells you. The other way around is that you're getting 8,000, you're not giving 2,000. If 10,000 and you're losing 2,000 to taxes, the other way of looking at it is that you're getting 8,000. You were in Egypt making $500 a month. You came here and you're making $10,000 a month. They are taking 2,000 from the 10,000. The other way to look at it is that you're getting 8,000. After all, you did not generate this money in Marrakesh and then came and spent it here and gave it to them here so that they can send it to Israel. Did you generate it in Rabat, Dar al-Bayda, or it's money that you generated from here? So that's one way to look at it. But I repeat, anybody who استفتي قلبك ولو أفتاك الناس وأفتوك. ممن أقام بين ظهراني المشركين. Okay, أنا بريء ممن أقام بين ظهراني المشركين, or I am clear of he who lives among the mushrikeen. First of all, we have the أثبت العرش ثم انقش. We have the authenticity first, and then we have the implication, the understanding and the implication. Okay, accept it as authentic. Then we have the implications. Bari in what sense? Bari of what? Bari of their diya, bari of their blood money. Because if the Muslims come and basically conquer your area and you get killed and not recognized, then he is clear of your blood money. That's a valid interpretation. That's a valid interpretation. The other interpretation is that this hadith was about was before Fath Makkah, and after Fath Makkah, لا هجرة بعد الفتح. And several people came to the Prophet ﷺ after Fath Makkah, and don't we have اعمل من وراء البحار ولن يترك الله عملك اسكن من أرض قومك حيث شئت. And this has controversial authenticity also, but اعمل من وراء البحار is stronger. ولن قال تقيم الصلاة وتؤدي الزكاة قال اعمل من وراء البحار ولن يأتيك الله عملك يا فديك اسكن من يعني أقم الصلاة وآتي الزكاة وأمر بالمعروف ونهى عن المنكر واسكن من أرض قومك حيث شئت. So establish the prayers, give your zakat, ordain good and forbid bad, and live in the land of your people wherever you want. And the Prophet said, لا هجرة بعد الفتح. Therefore, and we have to go back to the tradition because we can't do it DIY. Is it called DIY? Do it yourself? We can't do it ourselves. So we have to go back to the tradition and figure out what did the scholars say about this. So the Malikis say that you don't live in the lands of the Mushrikeen. You have to move. And this hijrah did not stop you. You should move. So if you're a solid Maliki and you like me, a strict Maliki, you go back. The Zahiri said the same thing. The Zahiri said the same thing. The Hanafis and Hanbalis say if you're able to live according to your deen and to manifest it, to show it, Al-Jubba'i rahimahullah has a very powerful statement about this, by the way. Jubba'i is one of the Mu'tazila, but he was a great scholar, by the way. Because the Mu'tazila doesn't mean that they have like horns. So he was a great scholar. He said, when he was asked about Dar al-Islam, قال حيث أعبد ربي وأقول رأيي لا أخاف على نفسي. So where I worship my Lord and speak my mind without fear for my safety. So, but that is al-Jubba'i anyway. Let's forget about al-Jubba'i for a second. Go back to the Orthodox tradition. And Maliki said, and Zahiri said, you go back. Hanafis and Hanbali said, if you're able to establish your deen, then it's permissible to stay. But they preferred going back. Only the Shafi'is said, if you're able to establish your deen and share it with others and give da'wah, then it may be preferable for you to stay where you are than to go back. So that is the breakdown in the madhahib of this issue. Why is this breakdown helpful? It's helpful in so many regards because we have to always go back and break things down and figure out what the tradition says so that we stop fighting. So if someone believes, so hard about this, like, yes, the Malikis agree with you. Yes, the Zahiris agree with you. Take that position. Use it. Leave. Good. We're not saying that you're an extremist. No, you are following like part of the tradition, a respected part of the tradition. And if someone stays, we will tell him, yes, the Hanafis and Hanbalis agree with you if you're able to live according to your deen and practice your Islam. And the Shafi'is may even add a little bit of flavor to you if you're given da'wah and stuff. And they may tell you it's better for you to stay where you are. And some of them even say it's wajib. إذا خلت الأرض ممن يدعو إليه. So if by your leaving there will not be anyone to invite to Islam, they say it's wajib for you to stay there. Anyway, but that's the summary. And if we do this with all matters, If we do this with all matters, we will just be more relaxed and we will avoid so much fighting among ourselves. This is our tradition. These great scholars have looked at the basically repository of evidences that is available to you and that is not available to you, and they had a much better sort of fiqhi acumen and capacity to understand and to derive rulings, and this is what they came up with, and they did not agree. So do you expect us to agree? No. Yeah. Yes, Akhi, go ahead. So the long answer, I posted the long answer. It's called, you know, encampments. And I have it on Facebook. I posted the very long answer, but you have to understand. If you want, I can actually read the summary. So students encampment movement, should we practicing Muslims participate? That's your question, right? So I don't know if I can read this. The issue here is it's so complicated, but you will have to basically watch the red lines in the summary. You have to watch the red lines and avoid the red lines. There are red lines. You must avoid the red lines. And then, اتقوا الله ما استطعتم. After the red lines, اتقوا الله ما استطعتم. Fear Allah as much as you can. But if there is an overarching benefit in participating that is mixed with some dubious, things and problematic things, then you do what is overall beneficial. What is overall beneficial. Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah had an entire chapter about the weighing of hasanat and sayyat when they conflict or when they are intertwined and you cannot separate them. So you have hasanat and sayyat intertwined and you cannot separate them. Can this happen? Of course, it can happen. What do you do in this case? And it's a beautiful chapter. I think I had translated it. I did translate it. But then my post about this, because he had very thoughtful ideas, Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, about this. So when my answer to this encampment question, I said at the end, when the Tatars advanced, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah urged the rulers and the population to confront them, and he fearlessly fought against them in person. However, when the Tatars controlled certain regions and during certain times, he recognized and endorsed the reasoning some scholars provided for serving as judges under the Tatars. So now the Tatars are advancing, I have a chance of fighting them. So he basically motivated the people to go out and fight. And he went out and fought. And, he was like exemplary in his courage. Many stories are mentioned about his courage in these battles. But then, when the Tatars became in control, and some of the judges worked for the Tatars. Some of the Muslim judges, the good Muslim judges, they worked for the Tatars. And Imam Taymiyyah was asked about this, and he endorsed their working for the Tatars. So the person who confronted and fought against the Tatars most fearlessly finds justification for working for the Tatars. Why? Because now they are in control. And if good judges don't work for them as judges, bad judges will work for them as judges. The good judges will be able to show mercy to the people, to basically mitigate some of the harm, filter some of the harm that's coming from the top down, that the bad judges would not have the motivation to do. So he said, work for them so that you can show mercy to the populations. Is this, hasanat and sayyat intertwined and you can't separate them? Yes. So here you will have to basically examine the ultimate outcome. That is called fiqh al-ma'alat and fiqh al-muwazanat. People keep on talking about this. It's not rocket science or anything. It's about the fiqh of priorities and of the fiqh of the final outcomes. Endings, yes. Okay. Of course, but I want to stress the point that you yourself pointed out and you stressed, do your best. Because here's the idea. Here are two approaches to religion. There are people who approach the religion for consolation and comfort, and there are people who approach religion for direction and motivation. And we should approach it for both. This is the balance that we have to strike all the time. Consolation and comfort that will give us hope and prevent us from despair, and that will make us moderate and will keep us from hastiness, and it will keep us from rash decisions and actions. But again, at the same time, you get too much of this, consolation and comfort, and you go into a coma. You become detached from reality, and you go into a spiritual coma, and you become very unhelpful. So had it not been for the brave students in Bangladesh, you would have not seen the government to go away, right? So somebody did something there that ended up causing this outcome. So it's not just that you were making your du'as, which dua is extremely important, but somebody did actually do something. Yeah. Oh, so that's beyond my thing. But I have, personally, I believe in a punitive vote against the Democrats. Punitive vote against the Democrats. What does that mean? It does not necessarily mean Trump. More likely the Green Party not because I endorse the Green Party. Don't ever say that on, because I never did. But it's a punitive vote. Punitive vote. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. أقول قولي هذا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.